So I'm Sarah's mom. She gets it 100% from me. Okay. Well, she didn't used to do that before this trip, by the way, so. Okay. All right. I don't even know where to start. Okay. So I've had a call to Medjugorje since my grandma went in the 80s. Then these two come back, and I don't know, it was after a healing mass. I don't even know how I got wrangled into going to the rectory. So then I ended up leaving after the healing mass. Like, I don't know. This is all God doing this, okay? So after we got done at the rectory, we put all the extra food away, and I walk up, and Angie and Denise stood in front of the church until 1:30. Do y'all remember this? It was at least 1:30. And they were like on fire, and they were excited. They had just come back from Medjugorje, and they were telling me all about it. And I'm just standing there like, wow, okay, I gotta go. Like, I gotta go. So at this point, I didn't know really either one of them. Like, I knew of Denise from family ties and then friendships, and like Angie, like I didn't know who she was, other than some of my friends had shared Megan's story on Facebook, and I watched it and I was like, wow, I wonder who this girl is. But then I just had to keep watching it. It was the strangest thing. And I felt like I knew this family like my whole life. I can't look at you. Okay. So anyway, so I knew that I had to go. So I was in the back of the church, I don't know, after Mass one day, and they had the flyer. And it said Youth Fest, and so I'm like reading it, and I was like, why hasn't anybody said anything about this, you know? So I picked it up and I brought it home, and okay. And a couple of months went by because it was just sitting in the back of the church for a little while. And then they announced it at Healing Mass. My sister's sitting next to me, and she says, like, she grabbed my arm, and she looks at me real serious, and she says, you have to go. Like, you know you're going, right? And I looked at her like, right, because, you know, there's going to have to be some kind of miracle to get me there financially, because, you know. So then they came, Angie and Denise and Dina came, and Todd, I'm sure you were here. We always leave you out, I'm sorry. They came, and they talked about the youth trip that was coming up very, very soon, like, you know, and we're going to take the youth and we're going to raise money. And I've raised money for trips for youth, and I was like, you going to raise that? How much money and like how long? So Deacon stood up and said, I'm going. And then a little while later, Sarah looked at me and she said, I want to go. And I was like, oh, we going. Write us down, we're going. I don't know how we get in there, but we going. And so I went home and literally, not even joking, emptied every piggy bank. And I rolled coins that night. And the next day, I went to the bank and cashed in those coins, and we had exactly enough for the deposit. So I was like, all right, we're going. Deposit, I sent it in. I think Kelly said the same thing before she could change her mind. So sent in the deposit so she couldn't change her mind, which she did. And for the next however many months it was, almost every day, I got to hear, I can't believe we're really going on this trip. But y'all see how she came back. So it was worth listening to it, that how much she didn't want to go. Okay, so the story about the rosary that you might have stolen a little bit. Okay, so Angie, during our fundraising efforts, Angie came, a few days before we went to the men's group, you know, to do our little spiel, she told me, I have something for you. And I was like, oh, okay. It was Megan's. And I'm like, I didn't know Megan, so I didn't understand why Angie would give me something of Megan's. But she said, Megan told me to give you this. Right? Those were your words? Okay. So I'm like, okay. Because at this point, I still didn't really know Angie all that well, and I didn't know Megan, other than a few times meeting her and, in passing. So she hands me this little pouch. And inside of it is Megan's rosary that Sarah told you about. And I prayed on this rosary, y'all. I didn't even know that I didn't know it was missing a little bead. Yes. So the night before the apparition, after Jude found out that he was going to be able to go up, we were gonna camp out, but we got there too late because we had gone to evening mass. There was really no place for that big of a group that wanted to go camp out on Apparition Hill. There was no place for us to really all be together. So the decision was made that we were going to camp out on the balcony, right? Okay. So, but they were like on cloud, I don't even know. Like they were just, there was no calming these kids down that night. So I said, So everybody, most of the other adults went to bed, but they were disappointed, and I could tell that they were disappointed that we weren't going to camp out. So I said, well, let's walk up there, just kind of to show them that there's really no space for us all to be together. I said, let's walk up there and at least say a rosary together. Maybe y'all will calm down and we can get a good night's sleep before we have to get up early in the morning. So I told them the story of how I ended up with the rosary, and I said, let's pray with this rosary. And Kelly suggested, well, let's each say like half a decade, and we'll pass the rosary. So that's how it came that Jude got the second half of the first decade, and they were all, So like I said, I didn't know Megan, but I was just from the little bit that I know about her, she was breaking the ice because we were all so tense. And just so I don't know. And that broke the ice, that everybody kind of calmed down after that. We had a really good laugh. And we finished up the rosary and prayed together. And they were nervous. I could tell that they were really nervous, I'm going to mess up saying the rosary. Okay, because as some of them said, they said the rosary, but they hadn't been praying it. And so, if you only say it, then you don't really know it. And once you start praying the rosary, you get comfortable with it. And so it was a beautiful night. We went back. They all kind of settled down a little bit. Jacques showed them the video from when Megan had been there, the Stella Mars video. And then we all went to bed and got up the next morning. And when Kelly says Mardi Gras, she's not kidding. Mardi Gras, nobody else in the country would understand what we're saying. But it was literally, we were on a barricade. And when we got the Poland invasion, I felt like Mama Bear because I was y'all are not touching my kids. Y'all can back up a little bit, So it was, they were. And I kept telling myself, and I kept telling Kelly, I was like, don't let them steal your joy. Because we were there for a reason, and that was a joy that we had. And so I have to remind myself now, not to let people steal my joy now that I'm home. And everybody asks, how was the trip? And the only way that I can say it is I felt like I was there, like I'd been there forever, and I would be there forever. So I have no pictures. I have very few pictures to prove that we were in Medjugorje. But Jacques has a picture. Yeah. So I've been stalking Jacques' Facebook page to remember what we did. Anyway, thank you, youth. I don't think that, this is my family now. I don't think that anything will break that bond. And for all of you who donated, and we raised the money so quickly, thank you.